All right, 10-minute snack. Everyone knows the rules. Let's eat. All right, so we have Jake Thomas with us here today. Jake, thanks for coming on. I'll do a very brief introduction. Marine with an absolute fascinating background, both diet background as well as athletic pursuit. So I appreciate you coming on today.
Thanks so much for having me, Kevin. I'm glad to be here.
So I got to ask you, like, since this is such a short podcast, I want to condense this as much as possible. But I got to know about your diet history. There's vegan history, vegetarian history. I understand, like, you're a big time heavy meat eater now, and then how that relates to your bodybuilding history, which is incredibly impressive, as well as like marathon running, swimming. Like, you are like basically an Iron Man.
You're making me blush. Thanks. It's just cool to be found interesting, first off. So thank you. Honestly, man, I got to tip my hat to girlfriends of the past, because being a compatible partner and just a curious kind of go with the flow person, dated a girl that was a vegetarian. Sure, I'll try that. Dated a girl that was a vegan. Sure, I'll try that. Hey, why'd you pick up, almond milk, babe? Like, I prefer this. Well, this is da-da-da. Okay, fine, I'll try it. And each one of those, was an opportunity to learn something and step outside my comfort zone. But at the same time, I was like, it keeps the house a little bit more friendly and, civil. So that's really honestly how I got into each of those paths. And then throughout, my own exploration and how things are making me feel, and if something made me feel better or worse, whatever, just kind of like, plug and play with each one of those diets. And then as relationships changed, maybe the diet would stay or maybe the diet would go away. And the bodybuilding part of it really came from almost out of spite, because at first I was competing in the World Natural Bodybuilding Federation, using, I guess you could call the standard American or SAD diet, right? Of low fat, high carbohydrate, moderate to high protein amount, still eating gluten, using processed foods by means of either bars or supplements, and, kind of the standard, I would say, repertoire of things that most bodybuilders consume across the board. And then, kind of reading a little bit on my own and the difficulties vegan and vegetarian bodybuilders were finding in trying to get adequate amounts of nutrients and micronutrients and macros to fit their needs, right? Especially through whole foods, very, very difficult, arguably impossible without supplementation. And then kind of reading about a few people that were pioneers at the time in the sport, and the kind of little bit of light that they were getting. But to me, I thought it was just fascinating, because I saw all these people that were doing it this way, the way I was doing it. Obviously, I was already in a smaller scope because I was natural. And that alone is a very smaller funnel of competitors. And one thing that, many people don't even know about is that, people say, oh, I'm natural too. I'm natural. And it's like, you're natural today. You're natural as of 6 weeks, as of 6 months. Like, to compete for your first show in the WNBF, you have to be natural for 10 years leading up to that. So it really, really thins the herd. And that's, what kind of drew me there. And then from within that, I was like, all right, if everybody's on this sad way, I'm going to try it this way, just because there's so few other people trying that. And then all these people were saying you couldn't do it. And, anybody that knows me well, tell me there's something I can't do. And
good motivator.
I'm going to have to fight to show you otherwise.
So what was your experience like? Because you've done bodybuilding, both vegan bodybuilding, carnivore bodybuilding, not only bodybuilding, but like just overall athletic as well, especially like the endurance stuff. Because I know there's a lot of carnivore marathon runners. It seems crazy, like not eating carbohydrates and, let's go run 26 miles. So what's been your experience with those two?
It's funny, like, I guess the best way to say it, think about fuel burning systems. And if you think about carbohydrates and as a fast burning system, and fats as a slow burning system, fats for millennial have been used to slowly burn fuel, a la blubber, and oils for fuel fire, to create candles and wax, and whales, right, were harvested for their blubber to be able to burn lamps and lanterns with. And then if you think about like carbohydrates and types of really fast burning octane or things that have been able to propel very quickly, but burn out very fast, but at a very high output. That'd be an alcohol, a sugar alcohol, especially, right? Like, I used to play bar tricks with friends of mine at a bar that I worked at, and you can pour, high grain alcohol on your hand and light your hand on fire and, oh my God, I'm on fire. But then it goes away really quickly, right? It's superficial. It's not going to last very long, and it's safe to do. Whereas something like a napalm per se, petroleum jelly, and that type of longer burning flame, you get that on your hand, you kiss your hand goodbye, you're going to be open, mail with the left hand for the rest of your life. And I know it's kind of a weird metaphor, but I kind of took that in the sense of like, okay, if I eat this very fast burning fuel, I can use it readily, it's quickly accessible, but I'm going to need to replenish it continuously, much more frequently, as opposed to if I have this really dense, slower burning fuel, I can feed off of that and draw from that for a much longer period of time. Now, people would say, like, what about the intra and this and that? Well, I think what I've learned is through time to build up certain tolerances to those deficits, or like when those lapses would occur. And really, it's not so much, in my opinion, having like a nutrient lapse or a macronutrient lapse. It's hydration, right? Most people thinking they're falling short in an exercise or a workout, particularly something highly glycolytic, right? Like fast pace, high intensity, quick bursted intervals, blah, 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 a rower, a skier, an assault bike, or any type of just, quick up, down, intense exercise. It's really more, for me, a hydration issue, or what I think is a hydration issue that more people than most are misinterpreting as a macronutrient deficiency, meaning, oh, I didn't get enough carbs in today. I've been working out fasted, and this is before carnivore, for almost 10 years now, where I've, not eaten first meal of the day. I've never been a big breakfast guy. I mean, as a kid, yes, but now in what I would say my athletic career, it's been almost 10 years that I've been working out and training fasted. So whether that was carnivore, vegan, SAD, pescatarian, or whoever I was dating at the time and threw a different wrench in my spokes, I didn't need that. To me, hydration is the real thing that's much more important. And then if you've got that under control, you've got good amount of electrolytes on deck, which you can either obviously source from your own or create your own or make your own, like I do. Just get some potassium, some magnesium, good little bit of salt. You can use stevia to sweeten if you want it, and organic lemon juice. And I make my own with like a sweet, salty lemonade. That'll carry you through way more because you've got energy all over your body.
Yep.
No matter how lean you are, and certainly if you're larger and fluffier, like you definitely have energy on your body. So being able to understand that you're wearing accessible bits of energy and just being able to disassociate that feeling of satiation or that ghrelin that's kind of telling you like, hey, we're still hungry. It's like, no, like just because your stomach's empty doesn't mean that your brain fuel is out, or just because your stomach's empty doesn't mean that you can't perform or put out physically or mentally or otherwise, right? It's just, we're very much ingrained without this being satisfied, everything else is kind of suspect.
I got a question. I'm just going to make sure we keep this in the time, but I'm super interested because a lot of people will hear zero carb or very low carb, and then that causing an issue with hydration versus someone on more of a heavier carb diet, having an easier time controlling their electrolytes. What are your thoughts around that?
I guess to answer it two ways. For me, it's easier in my mind because I've got way less things on deck to have to look at a board of suspects, meaning I know that I can eat a single piece of food and thrive on it, as opposed to, let's say, this person, that person, pescatarian, vegetarian, standard American, Mediterranean, They've got so many variables in the system by way of, the mixed amount of macronutrients, proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, or their vegetables, or their sugars, or their fruits. I'm getting my protein from here to like, I could literally eat, let's say, ground beef with organs, which I'm going to eat here in a little while, and be like, that's all I'm gonna eat today. Just 2 pounds of an ancestral blend of ground beef and organs. I'm gonna make my electrolyte mix, and that's it. Meaning like, okay, if I'm feeling a little bit sluggish, I probably need an uptick in salt. If I'm feeling a little bit cranky, I probably need a little bit more potassium, or I didn't get enough fat. You know, like I'm able to say exactly what the missing piece is, whereas opposed to someone else that's got so many more things in the tank to get them going and compete. How could you solve that puzzle? So it's hard for me to answer that question because I have been off of that train, so to speak, for so long now. But for me, I know exactly what my body needs, and it pretty much tells me what it needs because I have so few things coming into it. It's beautiful, and I love it for that reason.
I think that's so important. It's not really even talked about that much, is like the reduction of variables. Like you just said, if you're having an issue, like if something might feel a little bit off, you really only have a couple of variables, maybe a little more salt, maybe a little bit more fat. I mean, someone else is like, my stomach was upset today. It could have been the fruit, the vegetable, this, that. It could have been the macronutrient. It could have been 100 variables that you just impossible to control for, like you said. Super interesting. Now, to wrap this up, I got to ask you one last thing because I think people are going to be interested. Is you've been carnivore for quite some time, right? Now, finding the dating compatibility in that is no easy task. So what's the diet / dating strategy these days?
Great question. Yeah, it's been almost 2.5 years now. So I'm definitely committed in the best way, but they're out there. Yeah. All I can say is they're out there. You know, they're, for every Tarzan, there is a Jane, and they're definitely out there. I've met them. I've hung out with them. I've dated them. They're people just like you and I. And I'm not a lone wolf in that community by any means.
No, you're not. You're not. Jake, I really appreciate the time today. And I'll link everything. You got an awesome brand. We'll have that all linked below. But again, appreciate the time and looking forward to staying connected.
Same. Thank you so much, Kevin. Be cool out there.
Snack time's over. Did you enjoy the snack? If so, drop me a comment. Let me know if we should dive deeper and do a full meal on this topic. Also, P.S. if you liked the snacks, you're going to love our bites. A daily email bite, a golden nugget, better than a pasture-raised egg yolk. All right, maybe not that good, but it is a daily bite to optimize your health and nutrition with a meat-based diet. Access right now is totally free. Link below. See you in the bites.